How you going, man?
Good, thanks, John. Yourself, mate?
I'm fantastic. We're one day late.
Yeah, that's all right. Happy Halloween, John. It's come at an appropriate time for the England cricket team because their tournament's been a complete horror show altogether, John.
Nice line. Did you? Love it.
Had that one up my sleeve.
Before we kick off making fun of England for the next 2 hours, we'll just... Elite Bet is our major betting sponsor for the month of November. Make sure you head to smartb.com.au and click on the Elite Bet logo to sign up for Elite Bet. All bookmakers claim to offer service of some description, but at Elite Bet they generally pride themselves on offering exceptional personal service that is not found in the bookmaking industry. They're an Australian-owned business where old-fashioned customer service really matters. That's elitebet.com.au. So that's elitebet.com.au. Make sure you go to smartb.com.au for all your best odds and sporting information, and then click on the Elite Bet logo to sign up to Elite Bet. As always, bet with your head, not over it. Mm-hmm. For free and confidential support, contact gamblinghelpline.org.
Absolutely.
.au. I should actually check the URLs for these things before I kick off. Anyway, as always, we're going to start our cricket breakdown with Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And Australia played New Zealand on Saturday, which was, just on Thursday we were talking about how there hasn't been any exciting games.
We've had one now, John. That was definitely the game of the tournament.
Yes.
A 5-run win for Australia right at the death there, John. And look, a great effort by Australia. I wasn't, even though Australia set that huge total of 388, I don't know about you, John, but watching it, I wasn't... At half time in that game, I thought, New Zealand could still do it because they're New Zealand.
Yeah.
So you take the form that New Zealand have displayed in this tournament, you take any win over them, John. So well done to Australia on getting that win. It's a great effort.
You see, I didn't realise it actually started at 4 p.m. our time either. So I was at the gym.
Good time.
And at 8 p.m. when I finished at the gym, I checked checked the scores before what the first half, who was batting. That's what I do. I'll watch it when I get home, and I saw that it was Australia was already at 200. And I was like, man, we got another record, the fastest double century in the history of the world in half an hour.
I was working at Fox when the game was on, John, and I was covering the Rugby League actually, but I had the cricket on the TV and managed to watch the last half hour in the office there after my shift.
But because of that, it was good because I actually got to watch the rest of the match.
Yeah.
I watched...
Yeah, you got to watch... it finished at midnight on a Saturday night. You can stay up till midnight and watch the end of the game.
I did, of course, watch Australia versus New Zealand over in the Rugby League, which... I don't know what's going on there, but that's twice in this cricket tournament that the teams that are playing are also playing in another sport.
Yeah, Rugby Union or Rugby League, yeah.
So, what was it? South Africa played England at the same time.
Yes.
And this time it was Australia, New Zealand. So, they did end up with a record, though. It was the highest scoring World Cup one day.
The match aggregate of 771 runs, John. That's the highest aggregate for a men's ODI World Cup match. The 388 Australia scored is the highest total by any team against New Zealand in an ODI World Cup as well. So certainly Australia breaking records. That's now 3 consecutive 350-plus totals by Australia as well, John, following up their 367 for 9 against Pakistan and 399 for 8 against the Netherlands. They're the first team to score 350-plus in 3 successive ODIs.
That's surprising.
Yeah,
really surprising.
Especially after the way they started the tournament, John. What a turnaround. Australia churning out these 350-plus scores.
Well, this was the match that was the most pivotal, right? Because the previous couple of matches have been against the lower-ranked teams, not just in the comp, but in the world. And then they were going to have to play New Zealand, which was going to be the difficult one. Unfortunately for New Zealand, they've now lost 2 in a row. But against it was obviously only 5 runs in it, John. Another great performance. Well, New Zealand, they didn't bowl too well, but batting, they nearly snatched it at the end there. Just great effort by the Australian openers, John. Partnership of 175. David Warner's wicket fell after 19.1 overs. So to set Australia up with that platform
175 in 19 overs. Very impressive.
And Travis Head came back, yeah? And that was a massive
109.
difference.
Yeah, 100 on return. What a way to return, John. 109 off 67 balls for Travis Head. And 81 for Warner as well, John. That innings by Travis Head, 59 ball 100. That's the fastest 100 against New Zealand in World Cups.
Australia's breaking all the records.
Yeah, and Head's 50. He brought up his 50 off just 25 balls. That's the fastest. That's his first game in the World Cup, Travis Head. It's the fastest 50 by a World Cup debutant.
Oh, my God. And so this is the thing we were just talking about. Like, they had so many problems in the first couple of matches. Then they cleared them all up, and their opening batsman was the only problem that they had left. And now it's looking like they've solved this problem with the return of Travis Head. Travis Head was never going to fix everything. They had to fix a lot of things. They had to fix their bowling. They had to fix their fielding, which they did on the fly. And then Mitch Marsh's opening. I remember way back in the first round, one of the commentators you mentioned made a crack about how he just stops by for a quick visit. And that's what he's been doing for most of the tournament.
Yeah. I mean, there's still... It's Australia... They're not perfect, John. I mean, there's still a bit of an issue in this middle order. Steve Smith's out of form at the moment. Marnus Labuschagne's a bit patchy. I think with Steve Smith, John, it seems to me like he got moved down to number 4 for this game. It just seems like he almost doesn't know what his role is in the ODI side. He just doesn't know how to approach the innings. I don't know, John. I'd sort of be inclined to move Steve Smith up to number 3 and almost bat Mitch Marsh down the order in among those hitters with Maxwell and the like. Maxwell, Inglis, put Marsh down there because Smith, he's just in two minds at the moment. He doesn't know how quickly he has to score. He doesn't know if he's playing the innings anchor or not, but it seems like that's his role in this team, John. Innings anchor, bat at 3, just bat and bat and bat. And going down to number 4, I just think he's a bit confused at the moment in that role.
Yeah, that's not a bad call. I think it also helped Mitch Marsh to have not much pressure on him as well.
Yeah, I think it would help both of them to move Smith to 3 and move Marsh down to sort of 6-ish.
Yeah, because then Marsh could be the partner for people exactly like get Glenn Maxwell out there to just do silly stuff, but Marsh can be the anchor, the standard.
Yeah, so you have Smith as your top order anchor. Marsh can be your middle to lower order anchor.
Exactly. Yeah, that's not a bad call. Now, the last over, New Zealand needed, 18 runs off 6 balls. And I thought...
Something like that, yeah.
I thought, all right, it's cool. They're done. Like, their run rate wasn't enough. The batsmen that were in weren't really... looking like they were going to score 18 runs off 6 balls. And then Mitch Stark's 5-run howler.
Oh, yeah, watching that, you just went, oh, no,
That was the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Because it went from 18 down to 18 required down to 13 required without a ball being bowled.
Exactly.
Because it was 5 wide.
Yeah, so it was that was it. I think it was his second ball of the over, and so it was still 5. Yeah, 5 for 18, and then it became 5 for 13. And all you could think was how many times is he going to do that again?
Oh, yeah. But to his credit, John, he did what he had to do. He restricted them.
Made the adjustment. And, during that over, Pat Cummins fiddled with the fielding placements constantly. And I kind of, while I was watching it, I was thinking... oh man, he's nervous and he doesn't know what to do. But actually, I think it was tactically brilliant. It more messed with the New Zealand batsmen than it messed with the fielders. They didn't know what to do. They had to adjust basically. He was moving basically 3 or 4 fielders every ball.
Yeah.
And it just left the New Zealand batsmen going, we've already set up what we're going to do. Oh, no, we have to change it now. And it left them at 2 minds, and it gave the perfect kind of thing. No more boundaries. And I think everything about that last over except for that 5-round ball.
Yeah, I mean you got to get the 5 runs and that 5 wides was an oh no moment, but he did what he had to do, John, restrict them and win the game, and Mitchell Starc did that. One thing I would say about Starc though, John, he went wicketless for the first time in his 24-match ODI World Cup career. His streak of taking at least 1 wicket in 23 matches is the best for any bowler. So finally, Mitchell Starc has an ODI World Cup game where he doesn't take a wicket.
Well, he can just take the run out.
Yeah.
I may not have taken a wicket, but I still got someone out.
Yeah.
Someone still got out.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, I thought it was really... You mentioned Pat Cummins' field placements in that last over, very impressive. He was also very impressive with the bat, John. That innings he played, it turned out to be crucial in the context of the match at the end of the night. 37 from 14 balls, blasting 4 sixes. That's a great captain's knock. Great performance from the skipper. He stepped up when his country needed him.
And just a few weeks ago, we were talking about how it's too much pressure on him. And it's like they listen to us.
Yeah, maybe. A few other stats with this one, John. So that 118 Australia scored in the first 10 overs, that's the second most in this period by any team in an ODI World Cup game since 1999.
Wow.
So there you go. It's also the joint third most runs in the first 10 overs of an ODI innings overall, and the highest for Australia. That's where ball-by-ball data is available. It's also the first time New Zealand conceded 100-plus runs inside the first 10 overs of an ODI innings. The 10 sixes hit by Australian batters in the first 10 overs, the openers, they're the joint most by any team in an ODI innings, again, where ball-by-ball data is available. It's only the second time ever that both opening batsmen have scored 50s inside 30 balls in an ODI innings. Warner got his off 28, Head, as we said, got his off 25. There's only been one all-out, so Australia were bowled out for 388. There's only been one all-out total in ODIs higher than that. That was by the West Indies of 389 against England in 2019. So there you go, John. A lot of records.
Yeah, Australia's just breaking all the records.
Yeah, 100%.
So one of the things that's come out of this match, which is really trying to sour it, it's made the match actually stupid, was that run out in the last over. Now people are complaining. They've gone back and looked at slow motion and stuff, and it should have been a no ball, which would have meant that New Zealand had an extra ball to play. And like that kind of analysis from fans that gets up to commentators really sours like quality sport. It happens in all sports. And it's like we've talked about it before, and I'll talk about it till I'm blue in the face. Like just don't do it.
This situation where one little incident, it's like the as we were talking about the Alex Carey stumping of Bairstow in the Ashes, where one incident gets blamed for a whole result. This game goes for 100 overs, and you're blaming it on one possible missed no ball in the last over. You could go through the whole Australian innings, John. I'm sure you would find maybe they missed a no ball that New Zealand bowled as well.
That's why it's like really just a stupid thing to do that will ruin. Like the media should pay attention to it, and it ruins it doesn't ruin it because the match was fantastic, but it sours it afterwards. Like it leaves a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth. Not about the match, but the fact that we've got to like nitpick at stupid things like this just to find something wrong. And I always say like, you know, when you watch movies and there'll be somebody that everybody knows somebody that'll like find all the plot holes. And I always tell people who do this, like, you know, it doesn't make you look smart.
Exactly.
It actually makes you look like a whiner.
Yeah.
And the fact that the media picks up this stuff and runs with it, like, it doesn't make them look smart. It makes them look like they're whining.
John, if whinging was an Olympic event, England would win the gold medal every time it was held. But I'll tell you what, New Zealand would be a candidate for the silver medal as well, John.
Just get over it, man. It doesn't like it's. I can't do the math. 300 balls per innings.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, 50 overs, 300 balls an innings, 600 balls in a match.
And also,
or maybe 601 if you count Mitchell Starc's 5
also,
wide.
they had a five wide in that over.
Yeah,
So New Zealand still had the chance to win it. And they want to whine about, like, according to the rules of cricket, he still would have been out. I can't remember who the guy that actually got out was. He still would have been out, but the ball wouldn't have counted. So.
And even if you give them an extra ball, right? They still needed 5 runs.
Yeah.
Who was in at the end there for New Zealand? It was Lockie Ferguson was batting there at the end. the number 11. I mean,
he's not going to get 5 runs.
Is he going to get 5 runs off the last ball?
Not
Seriously.
not the way that Australia was fielding.
Yeah. Like,
that was it. So
come on.
It was an absolutely stunning match. It was awesome to watch. It really gave absolutely, literally nail biting, and just don't try and ruin it by whining.
Just a couple of other quick little stats on it, John. The 26s hit by Australia is the most by Australia in an ODI.
Wow.
They're also the most sixes hit by any team against New Zealand in an ODI innings. So there you go, John. That 59 balls for Travis Head's century, that's the fastest by an opening batter at the World Cup, and also the fastest on World Cup debut. And, there you go, John. So all sorts of records and
it's brilliant.
Very impressive by Australia there,
John. Can't wait till next week. And so what about England versus Sri Lanka? England's not having a happy time at the moment. So
no.
This was the end of round 5, the last match for the round 5. And we discussed this last week, that this poor form has to be playing at the back of their minds. And I think it really is. That Sri Lanka match showed how it's playing at the back of their minds. They just are absolutely lacking in confidence. And they were all out for 156.
All out for 156. Sri Lanka had no problem chasing it down, John. Chased it down in 25.4 overs. They barely needed half the innings, John. Sri Lanka winning by 8 wickets with 146 balls to spare. Terrible batting performance by England. Nobody getting to 50.
Keep in mind, right, Sri Lanka were the last team to win in the World Cup, win a match, and it was against the Netherlands. And now they've got 2. So England's gifted them the position on the ladder, which we'll get to later, actually.
100%. Lahiru Kumara, 3 for 35. He was the best of the Sri Lankan bowlers there. And Sri Lanka, they cruised in the run chase there, John. Patham Nissanka, 77 not out, and Sadira Samara Wikrama made 65 not out as well. So there you go, John. We'll go into a bit more detail once we get to that England-India game, John.
Pakistan versus South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Pakistan ended up batting first. Which, we talked about this, that South Africa wants to bat first. And, Pakistan ended up batting first, right? So I thought they set the 270, right? So we've discussed before 270, 280 is good thing for 2 teams. And I guess South Africa, Pakistan are almost in the same tier as each other. Now you look at South Africa's run chase, and it was 271, obviously. 9 outs, 47.2 overs. Mm-hmm. For a team that's been setting targets of 399, 380, and they almost didn't do it.
To be honest, looking at that, John, I was surprised that South Africa had that much trouble. But I guess that sort of comes with the territory of playing against Pakistan, that they can be a very difficult side to beat. I was surprised South Africa didn't win more easily. But against Pakistan, you basically take any win, John, because they can catch fire.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's a good sign for South Africa that they're winning ugly as well, because that's, again, their issue historically has been their performances on the big stage in big tournaments. Winning ugly in any sport, John, it's a good sign. It means you've got a good side. Go on.
And it's good because it was, as we discussed, it was against the Netherlands that they lost. And the Netherlands set that target of 245, which by all rights, so that was a reduced wicket. That was the only reduced innings match of that thing. Down to 43 overs, and South Africa was all out for 42.5. They only batted 207 in that match. So you could say that Pakistan is arguably better competition than Netherlands. So you could say that perhaps South Africa has also corrected their issue of when they're not batting first, because it is like, but yeah, like when Pakistan sets a target of 270 all out for 46 overs against South Africa, you expect South Africa will go out there and smash it in 30 overs.
Yeah.
Or like maybe a bit more, like 35, 40 kind of overs. But
yeah, I would have expected South Africa to win that more comprehensively, John, but there was a time where South Africa would lose a game like
for
that.
sure. Like
so
3 weeks ago.
yeah, there you go, and a great effort too from Aidan Markram again, John, very consistent performer, 91 off 93 balls, got his team home.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Now, Netherlands versus Bangladesh. So, congrats to Netherlands for winning their second match.
Absolutely, well done to them.
When they set a target of 229 against Bangladesh, so Netherlands and Bangladesh are kind of the same tier team at this point, you'd have to say. And you would want 270, right? Like
you'd expect more from Bangladesh, given that they're a test-playing nation and they've been around a lot longer on the cricket stage than the Netherlands, but yeah.
But yeah, they set 229, and so when I was looking at that on Saturday, Saturday, I was like, oh, Bangladesh is going to run this down easy. But then after they didn't, when I woke up, I went and looked at Bangladesh. Their highest score so far for the tournament is 256. So actually setting a target of 229 isn't that bad.
Yeah, and Bangladesh got rolled for 142,
yeah.
So...
Well done, Netherlands.
Well done to the Netherlands. Great effort. Scott Edwards, the skipper, chipped in with 68 with the bat. Great effort from him. And then with the ball, Paul van Meekeren, 4 for 23. Some great contributions there for the Netherlands, too.
I think that that sets up the Netherlands versus Afghanistan match in a couple of weeks to be like actually really like interesting, something interesting because, Afghanistan... Well, we'll get to them in a second. But
well, there you go. I mean, so we will talk about it in a sec, but Afghanistan 3 wins and 3 losses for the tournament. You have to think that Netherlands game will give them 4 wins. I don't know about their other games, but anyway, we'll get to that.
Yeah. So then, now India versus England. India had to bat first. They had to set the target.
Like you said.
And they also only got to 229. And at that point, I'm sure every Indian fan... So they batted out the over, 50 overs, 229. Every Indian fan must have been sitting there going, we are screwed.
Yeah, well, I don't know about you, John, but I went to bed at the end of that Indian innings thinking I'd be waking up to England probably winning at that point in time.
And maybe they were going to start their streak.
And you wake up to India winning by 100 runs, England getting rolled for 129, John.
Yeah, 34.5, so even if they had batted out the over with the, the thingy, the average kind of thing, they would have only got to 260. And did you see the Kuldeep's ball to Butler at 52 runs and 4? This was the most ridiculous ball I've ever seen.
I missed it, actually, John. Sorry.
So it's been analysed on the internet now. It's a 7.2 degree angle.
Oh, right, okay.
It's absolutely unbattable, absolutely ridiculous. It looks like it's going wide and then cut straight back in to get him out and clean. And the look of shock on Butler's face. How are you meant to hit it? I really
Summary of England's tournament in one look on Butler's face.
It was so amazing. It wasn't just featured all over the internet on like cricket subreddits.
I'll have to check that out.
It was on like there's like subreddits that are like, the best of human abilities and stuff. Damn, that's interesting and things. And it was in there because it just looked ridiculous.
Yeah, right.
It's amazing. And yeah, it's just afterwards, the look on Butler's face is just like, well, yeah. Like, what am I going to do here? So England's gone. They can't do anything now. They're definitely not going to make the top 4. And when we get to the ladder, they're currently languishing on the bottom of the ladder.
Yeah, so John, we talk about the record books. England are finding their way into the record books for all the wrong reasons. So 4, that's the number of consecutive defeats for England now, John. A first for them in the Men's ODI World Cup. The 2023 tournament's also the first World Cup in which England have suffered 5 losses as well. So there you go. Entering the record books for all the wrong reasons. This is an interesting one, John. So Matthew Mott, England's head coach, he said he only found out that his team's place in the 2025 Champions Trophy was in jeopardy midway through the second innings of that defeat to India in Lucknow, because the ICC confirmed the qualification process on Sunday. So basically, John, the way it works is Pakistan, this is the 2025 Champions Trophy I'm talking about. It's being held in Pakistan. Pakistan gain automatic qualification, being the host nation. And then you've got the top 7 teams in the World Cup who join Pakistan in that event. You'd have to think Pakistan are going to finish in the top 8. So that just basically means the bottom 2 at the World Cup don't make the Champions Trophy. We'll get to the standings. England look like they could potentially be in that category, John.
Yeah,
so these games do mean, even if it's not a case of, it doesn't matter where you finish in the bottom 6, it does matter because there's Champions Trophy qualification on the line.
They've only got 3 matches to go.
Yeah.
And keeping in mind the other teams also have 3 matches to go because it's currently the end of round 6. Tonight kicks off the Pakistan-Bangladesh beginning of round 7.
Yes.
So, yeah, if England can't get... You'd have to say all 3 possibly. They won't be, they won't be making it, and it'll be great for all of Australia.
Yeah. So, John, I know we rightly laugh at England's plight in this game and in the tournament in general, and we'll continue to do so.
Hellfire.
But, John, do we need to... taking a more objective look at this result and the tournament in general and recent World Cups, with India rolling England for 129 on that, again, questionable deck, John, do we need to look at trying one of these World Cups at a neutral venue to take this pitch issue out of play? Because we got India undefeated at this tournament, overwhelming favourites to win it. England won in England in 2019, Australia won in Australia in 2015, India won in India in 2011. You know what I mean, John? I'm just throwing it out there just as a once-off. Just try it out. Just play in a neutral country. Try it in America one year. I don't know, John. It's just an idea.
I have mentioned before, if the final was played in New Zealand in that 2015, New Zealand probably would have won. Because in that same tournament, they absolutely rolled even Australia.
Yeah.
When they played in New Zealand. You know, there's always, with every World Cup, there's always a thing where it should be played in a neutral country. Every sport. There's 2 reasons. One is because of the home team advantage, either causing the home team to doctor pitches. Would never say such a thing. The other one is when the home team misses out on like the final stages or doesn't perform very well. It also is like, you know, they lose crowd attendances. But then you look at something like the Davis Cup right now in the tennis, which are doing exactly what you're talking about, playing on
that's
neutral.
True. Yeah, that's
neutral
true. There's
things.
no perfect solution here, is there?
I think playing it in the US, because the US are never going to qualify. I think Sean Strickland, the MMA fighter, says, like, if America cared about a sport, they'd be the best in the world at it because they throw so much money at it. Yeah. Which is kind of true, actually. They have so much money to dedicate to sport. It's beyond ridiculous. Whatever sport they want to be the best in the world at, they literally throw hundreds of millions of dollars.
If they took soccer seriously, they'd win the World Cup. If they took tennis seriously, they'd have the top 5 tennis players in the world in the men's and the women's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if America wanted to be good at cricket, they could be good at cricket. Because they don't just fund their homegrown teams, you know, they import people.
Yes.
They give them American citizenship. It starts in college. You know? There's like college scholarships for being an athlete also extend to citizenship, all right? So you would have things like, Dave Warner is now an American. Yeah. Why is that? Because he's getting paid $130 million a year to be American. Right? But having it in America, like cricket is big enough in America that there would be or could be interest in a World Cup there, and it is difficult to find a country that would be interested enough to attend when their team isn't playing.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't go drop the Rugby League World Cup in China, because no one's going to, like literally no one is going to go.
Yeah.
Possibly even in India. You couldn't drop it in India. So putting it in like that 11th ranked, 12th ranked type countries that didn't qualify but get to have the cricket there anyway, it's not a bad idea. because then India doesn't get to doctor the pitches, allegedly.
That's the thing. Just as a once-off, John, just an experimentation,
They've got enough money to do it, you know, for that experimentation. But based on this year, India, what India is doing right now in the home cup, the World Cup hosted by India, is the most blatantly obvious home ground advantage in the history of all World Cups across all sports.
Yeah.
Like I said, they're no longer defending it by saying we're not doing it. They're now defending it by saying, yeah, but everyone does it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Because that's the thing. They got rolled for all that. They made 229, and you sort of go, you wake up thinking, oh, well, England could win. And then, they say never judge a pitch till both teams are battered on it.
Yeah, well.
And we know after, I know England are just going terribly, obviously, but, 229 plays 129 doesn't look like a batting deck.
Yeah, watch that ball. Go look up that ball that Kuldeep bowled to Butler to get him out. It was at 52 for 4. And you can tell there's something going on because balls don't naturally or even unnaturally go like how that ball goes.
Yeah, and you mentioned it in the last podcast, John. Try bowling first if you win the toss against India, putting them in. They've put them in 9 for 229. England, even though England didn't chase it down, they might have exposed something for the other teams to look at there, John.
You'd have to say that South Africa or even New Zealand or Australia could chase that down. Australia only got to 199 in the first, in the opener. That was when Australia was in bad form. And even 199 is a lot closer to 229 than the 129, so it's possible in Australia's current form.
That's the thing. England are going terribly.
Yeah.
How would India have gone on that same pitch, same conditions, 9 for 229 against South Africa, Australia, or New Zealand?
Yeah.
That's the thing. That they wouldn't. None of those three teams would have got 129 the way they're playing.
Yeah,
so
it's very suspect.
So, we sort of got the best of both worlds in this game, John. We saw England get humiliated again, which is great to watch. Yeah. And we've now seen some vulnerability with India to make the tournament interesting.
They're not going to want to bat first against any of those top teams.
Best of both worlds out of that result, John.
Tonight is Pakistan versus Bangladesh. Which, the podcast is going to come out a little bit close to this. I would have to say that Pakistan's going to get this one. I don't see Bangladesh doing... This isn't even a coin flip on whether... normally we've been talking about Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh are kind of coin flips when they rock up, but I'd say both coins are going to turn up heads for Pakistan.
Yeah.
On this one. There's no chance that Bangladesh is going to actually do any good.
Yeah, I was just having a look at our rundown, John. Did we go through the Netherlands Bangladesh game or
Yeah, we did.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
The Afghanistan Sri Lanka.
Yep. We did.
Oh, okay.
John, did we? He's got the note.
Yeah, sorry.
Netherlands Bangladesh definitely yes. What was the other one?
Sri Lanka versus Afghanistan.
Yeah. We might just run through. That was the game that finished this morning. Yeah.
Because we were just talking about England, which was before that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
riveting podcast.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. It happens. Great effort by Afghanistan again, John, winning this game by 7 wickets with 28 balls to spare, 3 for 242, 45.2 overs. This is a Herculean performance by Afghanistan in this World Cup, John. This is one of the great sports stories of the year.
So we discussed, last World Cup they won zero matches. Historically, last week when they won? Yeah, last week when they won, they beat somebody. We mentioned they'd won 3 World Cup games ever, 2 of them in this tournament. Well, they've now won 4 World Cup games ever, 3 of them in this tournament.
Yeah, unbelievable. Extraordinary. Sri Lanka rolled for 241. Clearly not enough runs against Afghanistan in the form they're in at the moment.
49.3 overs as well. They wouldn't have gotten much higher if they had batted out the innings. It would have been, 250 at most, probably. And it only took Afghanistan 45.2 to... They also... Sri Lanka also only got 3 outs against Afghanistan. Afghanistan won by 7 wickets. That's... Yeah, it is. It's well done, Afghanistan. If Netherlands was a feel-good story, of the tournament just qualifying and now winning. Afghanistan is the feel-a-gooder story of the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely.
By qualifying for the champions. At this stage, you'd have to say that they're going to be in that top 8.
Yeah, well, they're 5th.
Yeah.
They're looking like it'd be funny if they qualify and England don't.
I can't wait.
Yeah, just some great individual performances by Afghanistan, John. Fazal Haq Faruqi, 4 for 34 from his 10 overs, John. Great effort. And with the bat, Azmatullah Omazal, 73 not out. And Hashmatullah Shahidi, the skipper, not out, 58 as well. Rahmat Shah, 62. Great performances by Afghanistan, John.
This is Sri Lanka who made it to the final of the Asia Cup just before this tournament, beating Pakistan. And Sri Lanka who also, if I remember correctly, beat India in that Asia Cup tournament. Have just been beaten by 9th ranked Afghanistan. I can't wait till the rankings come out after this, to be honest. Surely Netherlands is going to make it into the... Hopefully England drops.
Where's England going to be, John?
Yes. Remember, the top 5 and America qualify for the Olympics.
Yeah, in the 2020, yeah.
In 2020.
Yeah. Bear that in mind. America could be replacing a notable omission in that tournament, John.
It would be so funny if America replaced England. England's got to go through like Australian rugby kind of good hard look at themselves right now, I think.
Yes. Sorry, John, the previews. Yeah,
so Pakistan versus Bangladesh.
Yeah.
I don't think this will be a good match. It's on tonight. I don't really care about it. I think Pakistan will just beat Bangladesh.
I'm sorry, John. Our friend outside, his...
Yash.
Ash, that's right.
Yash.
Sorry, Yash.
Yash, you always get a comment and Dan never remembers your name.
Yeah, sorry, Yash. I will remember now. Yash actually had some very interesting insight ahead of this game.
He's a mad cricket lover, by the way.
He is. He's very helpful talking to before I come in.
He actually doesn't even greet me by saying, hello, John. He walks through the door every day and says, did you see whatever match was last night? Doesn't matter what it is.
So he said that, this game's on in Kolkata, John, and apparently Bangladesh are going to get a huge turnout of supporters at this game. They're going to have most of the crowd support because Bangladesh is very close to Kolkata geographically.
Ooh.
So...
and we know Pakistan is a difficulty to get.
Yeah, that could throw a spanner in the works, John. And Yash thinks Bangladesh are going to win this one.
Let's do an odds check on that.
Yeah.
So all odds today will be brought to you by Elite Bet. Go to smartb.com.au and click on the Elite Bet logo to head to Elite Bet. Pakistan versus Bangladesh Pakistan is currently paying $1.28.
Yeah, I wouldn't
with
touch
Bangladesh
that, John.
Paying $3.60. So Yash has been pretty spot on for a lot of the tournaments so far.
Yeah.
So that $3.60 looks a bit juicy to me.
Very much so, John.
As always, bet with your head not over.
You wouldn't touch that $1.28 with a 10-foot pole, John.
Let's check some fluctuations and see how the odds are actually fluctuating to see if it stayed firm and how the money's going. I've got to log in. Yes. I should have.
It's an interesting insight from Yash.
It is actually because crowd can do a lot in these games, you know. So, it's been well publicised the difficulties that Pakistanis have had of getting visas and stuff like that. So,
and Pakistan are the sort of team who would be impacted by something like that.
Yeah, 100%.
Some teams would just block that sort of thing out, like a New Zealand.
Well, yes,
it wouldn't phase a team like New Zealand. But it would phase a team like Pakistan.
There's a lot of money going in and out for both of these. So Bangladesh at some stage during the week has been around the $2. And Pakistan at some stage during the week has been as high as $2 as well, $1.95. There's a lot of money flowing for this at the moment. So I would seriously jump on smartb.com.au and click on the Elite Bet logo and go and maybe put some money on that Bangladesh. Bet with your head not over it. As always.
I'm interested in this Vegas announcement you've got coming up.
It's coming soon.
Yeah, okay.
Coming soon.
Very,
you know you can't win, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course I know that, John. No way.
Employees and family of employees can't win.
Yeah.
It's coming soon. After the finish of the Pacific Championships.
I meant for others, not for me, John.
So then there's New Zealand versus South Africa on... Why do I have it on... tomorrow it's Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm interested in the odds for this one too, John. I'd be interested where the money's going.
South Africa is currently ahead at $1.66 with New Zealand at $2.22.
I think that's a fair... those are fair odds, John.
South Africa's stayed pretty consistent, so they haven't moved at all throughout the week. But there's been a lot of money coming in and out for New Zealand. So they've dropped as low as... what do we got here? Around $2.11, they dropped as low as. I don't know. I think the odds are a little bit unfair, just because New Zealand's dropped 2 games. I would think.
So would you think it should be a more 50-50 market, John?
Yeah, and I reckon what will happen is whoever wins the toss and elects to bat first will be really telling, and that'll. Betting live in-game, you obviously have to call it's a bit more difficult and stuff like that. But I would place the bet at that stage.
At 222.
So if South Africa goes into bat first, I would probably say it's South Africa. But if New Zealand goes into bat first, given South Africa's form with the chase, they did win ugly. They did win, but they won ugly. They don't want to be playing New Zealand winning ugly like that.
I wonder if there is a big... And I haven't looked at it, John, but I might start to have a look at it. I wonder if there's a big shift in the live odds once the result of the toss is determined.
You can check that on smartbet.com.au. Sign up and you can gain access to the fluctuation graphs, which show minute-to-minute fluctuations, actually.
Yeah. Be a good idea to just sort of put, bring the page up with 5 minutes to go before the toss and refresh it a couple of minutes after the toss and see what the movement is.
We talked about it the other week with Afghanistan never losing their odds against whoever they beat last time. I can't remember who it was. Because the match was so close.
Was it Pakistan?
Yeah, it was Pakistan. The match was so close, even down to the last over. With some bookmakers, Afghanistan was still paying $4. And like I said, it's much harder to bet in-game. You do have to call to bet in-game, which is to prevent cheating because there's always a television delay. But, watching a fluctuation graph can do a lot for you based on tosses. So I would... the toss of the coin.
Yes.
I would honestly...
Good that you clarified that, John.
Taking those New Zealand odds if New Zealand gets to bat first. I would honestly be taking that $2.20.
But that's a heavyweight clash, a top 4 heavyweight clash. That's South Africa, New Zealand. So it's certainly one to watch. That's
tomorrow at 7:30 p.m.
That's a popcorn match. That one, John. Absolutely.
Then we've got India Sri Lanka on Thursday, which we're previewing now because this podcast will be out early enough to get this preview in. Now you can't bet on this game. To be honest, it's pointless. India's paying $1.15.
Yeah, I'll tell you what though, if you're Sri Lanka and you win the toss, John, you're bowling first.
100%. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Sri Lanka's currently paying $5.30, which we can check where the money's coming in, and it has been solid. Nobody is betting on Sri Lanka for obvious reasons. Now that $1.15 that India is paying, it's not worth betting on unless you've got them in a multi. I'm very, very multi averse. I think multis are a massive trick, and I don't often do multis. But I sometimes do multis on favourites, pure favourites. So I might do a multi on guaranteed wins. What other Australia versus England is this Saturday. So I might do a multi with India and Australia because they're basically guaranteed wins at this stage.
Yeah, I think it's probably if India were to win the toss and bowl first, as they will if they win the toss, and chase this total down in 30, 35 overs or something similar, it's probably not the best thing for them at this stage. They probably need... We talked about it in the last podcast with the Brisbane Lions, John. How do you deal with your weakness? You expose yourself to it.
Yeah. This is the team they want to be exposing it themselves to.
This is the thing. These are India, they've won 6 games out of 6. They've already qualified for the semi-finals. So this is an opportunity for them now to expose themselves to their weakness. If they just hammer Sri Lanka in this game batting second, probably not the best thing for them.
Especially coming up against, they have that match against South Africa next week.
Yeah.
In which, South Africa want to bat first. India wants to bat second.
Could there be a fear, and I know it might be a bit hasty, John, could it be possible that India have peaked too early in this tournament?
Well, I think we'll find out next week.
Yes.
Not next week, on Sunday. I don't think we'll find out on Thursday. Because
That's the thing.
What's going to happen is, even if Sri Lanka win and make India bat first, India's might get like 290 or 250 or 220, but then they're going to bowl Sri Lanka out for 100. They can let Sri Lanka go in and bat first and bowl Sri Lanka out for 100. Like either way, they're going to bowl Sri Lanka out for.
But they're not going to bowl any of the top four sides, the other top four sides out for that amount.
So they're gonna have to play South Africa next week, who are both gonna. So, and you look at it. So India's got Sri Lanka. There are 3 games left. Sri Lanka on Thursday, South Africa on Sunday, and then going into the group of 4 is Netherlands. So against Sri Lanka and Netherlands, they might want to do that like experimentation, just because they're set. They're definitely in the 4. It's all right if they drop a game, which they're highly unlikely to against Sri Lanka and Netherlands. Yeah.
Yeah.
So standings after round 6. So standings after today.
Yeah.
India's still first with no losses. South Africa now stands alone at second with 5 from 6, and New Zealand and Australia third and fourth with 4 from 6. Now, this is an interesting one, right? Afghanistan stands alone at 5th with 3 from 6, all right? So this is how they can stay in that top 8 and qualify for the
Champions Trophy, yeah.
So then we got Sri Lanka, Pakistan and Netherlands 2 from 6, and Bangladesh and England 1 from 6.
So Bangladesh and England are in the non-qualifier for the Champions Trophy positions at the moment, John.
And we've looked at, I talked about it before, their road to the end of the tournament is paved with hellfire. They've got Australia this week, which will surely keep them mired to the bottom of that ladder.
So this table is sort of like the English Premier League table, isn't it? You've almost got the last 2 spots are sort of relegated spots from the Champions Trophy.
We just talked about Yash reckons Bangladesh can get Pakistan. I can't. There's no way you could see England getting Australia. So for this, possibly at the end of round 7, Bangladesh could be sitting alone on 9th, with England sitting alone on 10th. And that's going to play into England's head when they have to go up against the Netherlands, who are losing and have only lost, have won 2 games and have only lost badly against Australia.
Yeah, well, John, I think Afghanistan have done the top 4 sides a real favour because they've put a 4-point gap between Australia on 8 points in 4th spot and Sri Lanka on 4 points in 6th spot. So Afghanistan have given those top 4 sides some real breathing space because obviously we don't think stranger things have happened, of course, John, but we don't think Afghanistan are going to cause Australia any problems when they play them. We hope not, John. Or South Africa, I believe they're playing them as well. So
Afghanistan's got to play Netherlands this week, which is on Friday, which is going to be an interesting match. Then they've got to play Australia straight after that and finish up the tournament against South Africa. They can beat Netherlands, which will give us a further gap. So England's got to close out the tournament against Pakistan as well. So the only match you could say they are guaranteed of winning, which maybe they're not, is Netherlands. It's very, very possible that they'll be sitting at the bottom of the ladder at the end of the tournament.
Yeah, we talked all the time about 6 wins being the magic number to make the 4. But the way that table's looking, John, 5's probably going to be enough to get you there, I think, because I can't see, 6 to 10 are not going to. They've got 3 games to play. You have to think none of them are going to win all 3 of their last games to qualify. And Afghanistan, you can't really see them getting to 5 wins, winning 2 of their last 3. So 5 wins for Australia, New Zealand, South Africa might be enough to get there, but 6 guarantees that you're there.
I don't think
5 could be enough, John.
It could very well end up being that New Zealand and Australia both end the competition on 7. But Australia could overtake New Zealand as well. So New Zealand's run home is South Africa, which we just discussed is a danger game. Then they got Pakistan, which is a coin flip, but you would have to say New Zealand gets it. And they finish up the tournament against Sri Lanka, which they should get comfortably. So they will be 6 or 7, right? And then Australia has a very easy run. They've actually arguably got the easiest run home. So they've got England, which can't wait for. Yeah. Then Afghanistan and then Bangladesh. And they should, in theory, comfortably get all of those. So that'll be 7.
And if you're sort of looking at that top 4 again, we're looking at that top 4 and we're not seeing any of the outside teams coming into it, certainly not at this stage. Sort of a good time to take stock and look at the table with all the teams having played 2/3 of their group games now. Are you sort of looking at, who does Australia want to play in the semis, or is it a case of, you got to beat everybody to win it? Does it really matter who you play in the semis? I mean, you're probably going to have to beat India and South Africa to win this thing. Does it really matter which one you play in the semis or the final? Or
I don't think Australia wants to play India if they want to make it to the final. And I think what they want to do is open against New Zealand. That's their best bet.
So so for that to happen,
it's possible.
I mean, it's just going to be a bit tricky because India and South Africa are a win ahead of New Zealand in second, and New Zealand a third.
So if New Zealand get the win tomorrow, though, that is actually like best case scenario for Australia. Out of the teams,
you're probably right there. Yeah.
Out of the teams, those 3 teams, India, like in all seriousness, should win all 3 matches, including against South Africa. But I can't wait to see the odds for that one. Because India's got Sri Lanka, then South Africa, and then we said Netherlands to finish up, right? So they should finish the tournament this stage on 9. Out of the remaining 3, South Africa, New Zealand, and Australia has the best chance of winning their 3. So they could finish on 7. And then South Africa versus New Zealand is a danger game for South Africa. But then who else is South Africa has India. So Australia could actually finish in second. If New Zealand end up beating South Africa, Australia can finish in second. And, look, the net run rate is going to keep South Africa ahead of anybody they're tied with because their net run rate is plus 2.032. Now, the next highest is India at plus 1.405. There's no chance any other team, unless Australia go out and smash everybody by like 400 to 100 runs or something like that, there's no way that anyone's going to catch up to that. So South Africa finished tied with anyone, they're going to be ahead.
That's the thing. So you got to win one more game than South Africa to knock them down a spot.
So you want India and New Zealand to beat South Africa, and then Australia can finish second. Then who plays who in the opening thing? So
it's 1v4 and then 2v3. The 2 winners go through to the final, John.
So you want New Zealand. I think Australia's best bet would be New Zealand finishing third and Australia finishing second, which again is possible, but it requires South Africa to lose. What's more likely is Australia's going to be playing South Africa, based on who they got left in everyone's current form. Which
tell you what, John, from Australia's point of view, I think they would be quietly confident of their chances now, not wanting to jump the gun here, but South Africa don't perform well in big games historically. Australia seem to have it over New Zealand in World Cups. There seems to be a bit of a big brother, little brother complex in those games between those 2 sides. And India don't perform well in knockout games either. So if you look historically at best big game performers, Australia, as I say, by far the best performing side in this tournament. 5 World Cup wins. Next best are India and West Indies with 2 wins.
Yeah.
Australia would be quietly confident of their chances at this point, John.
If Australia does have to play South Africa and gets to in the finals and wins the toss and bats first, you'd have to say they will win. They'll beat South Africa and go through.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think they're probably sitting there. They'll look. To be honest, they will say they're not thinking about it, but they definitely are.
It's human nature, right?
Yeah.
You've always got one eye on the big prize.
Fans are the same. We're not thinking about it, but we're talking about it for the past 10 minutes.
We're not thinking about it, but we're thinking about it and talking
Australia
about it.
will want to play New Zealand, but if they have to play South Africa, it'll be fine. I don't think they will want to play India until that final. Even though South Africa did beat the living hell out of them in round 2, it's been a reversal of fortune for Australia, and South Africa hasn't performed well if they have to bat second. So
Hypothetically, John, if it did turn out to be, and we're jumping way ahead here, if it did turn out to be an India-Australia final, what sort of pitch would we be looking at?
That'll be terrible. And Australia definitely wants to win the toss in that one.
Yes.
Whatever they can do to win the toss.
Yes, absolutely, John.
Any cricket news for the week?
In terms of cricket,
nah.
Yeah, I think we've covered that off pretty comprehensively.
So before we move on to Rugby Union, Winning Edge Investments provides industry-leading betting tips, advice and education, enabling you to invest intelligently and generate long-term profits by treating your betting as a business. WinningEdgeInvestments.com. Perfect time to sign up to Winning Edges now with the Melbourne Cup just around the corner. Mm-hmm. Bet with your head not over it. For free and confidential support, contact gamblinghelpline.org.au.
Got through it, John?
Yep. And so let's move on to Rugby Union.
Mm-hmm.
So Argentina and England played for third spot.
Mm-hmm.
So I paid zero attention to it. Like literally zero attention.
I'm in that boat as well,
I
John.
didn't even read news reports, so I just asked someone who I know who watched it, and he said, this is what he said, even though it was a thriller, and he went like this, even though it was a thriller, air quotes, it was boring as.
That's the thing, John. The best that English sport can produce at the moment is a bronze medal in a Rugby World Cup that no one cares about.
Across all sports. But the New Zealand versus South Africa, that was actually a thriller. So South Africa ended up, so that's their second in a row now, winning 12-11.
Yep.
New Zealand was actually really let down by their captain. This is the captain, Sam Cane, getting red carded in the 27th minute. So they played the majority of the match a man down. Now, there's a bit of controversy because it was initially a yellow card, which is a sin bin for our rugby league fans, mm-hmm. Australian rugby league fans, mm-hmm. and it was upgraded by the video ref.
Okay, interesting.
And then South Africa, one of their players was yellow carded, sin binned late in the match, but didn't make a difference. Apparently, it was really exciting. Again, didn't watch.
One thing I did notice, though, John, Novak Djokovic and Roger Federer were both in the crowd at the final, if you can believe that.
What are they doing there?
I think Roger Federer's mother is South African, so he was supporting South Africa, obviously, but I saw Novak Djokovic in the crowd at a Rugby World Cup final involving South Africa and New Zealand, John. That was interesting to me.
So when we get to Ngannou versus Fury, there was a thing about that because this kind of ties into that. Like at that Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury match, there was a multitude of stars like Eminem, Conor McGregor, what's his name, Ronaldo, that soccer dude.
Cristiano?
Yeah, that one.
Yep.
Like so many stars. And I got it from a reputable source who got it from someone that the Saudis actually paid for all of those people to go there. Private jets, all expense paid.
Yeah, money goes a long way, doesn't it?
Saudi Arabia money as well.
Yes.
So they spent upwards of $40 million getting stars to the event to give it.
That'd be all right, wouldn't it? Getting paid to go to an event like that.
Yeah, and so there's, it could be that boxing is the worst of the worst when it comes to stuff like that, but it could be that Rugby Union paid Novak Djokovic to be there because Roger Federer was going to be there. Who was he there supporting?
Djokovic. Yeah,
I wonder if it was New Zealand.
So he was with Rita Ora of all people.
That's bizarre.
In the crowd. Yeah, yeah. So there you go.
So we can go to Rugby Union news that again nobody cares about because of how poorly Rugby Union is going. So Eddie Jones has resigned, again air quotes, resigned.
Don't know who's really believing that.
Insisted that he's not going to Japan even though he's about to go on holiday to Japan.
Yeah.
Insisted that he never met with Japan even though the CEO of Rugby Australia, said he met with Japan Rugby. So Eddie Jones's tenure, here's the outcome of his coaching tenure in 2023. 22% win rate, 2 out of 9 wins. 0 wins versus a Tier 1 opposition, first time since 1995. 30 points against per game, most in a calendar year ever for Australian rugby. 6 captains in 9 tests, most in Australian rugby history. Last place in the Rugby Championship, first time ever. Largest loss to Royal South Africa since 2008. Lowest ranking ever for Australia, 10th. First time Australia hasn't made the knockout stages in the World Cup. Eddie Jones resigned, air quotes.
What a train wreck of a tenure that is, John.
Right.
And you've just gone through it in detail.
Then Angus Crichton, who was the slightly publicised possible poaching target for rugby, he's knocked back, air quotes, the Rugby Union offer now. 2 weeks ago, we discussed this, that they had withdrawn their offer, and Angus Crichton's management was having a big tanty in the media about the unprofessionalism of Rugby Australia. Angus Crichton has knocked back, air quotes, the Rugby Union offer because Eddie Jones is no longer there. What an absolute schmozzle Rugby Australia is.
Yeah, well, it wasn't happening, 20 years ago. They were getting players like Wendell Saylor, Matt Rogers, Lottie Takiri signing up. Times have changed though, John. The only one in recent times who's defected is Joseph Suwali, and
they paid overs for him.
Well, that's the thing. He's only going there because, let's face it, Suwali's not an established rugby league star. He's only going to Union because they've paid overs for him. So Union hasn't landed an established rugby league star for a very long time now, John.
Because one of the things about sports players, athletes that we've talked about is if your motivation isn't legacy and it's only money, then you won't do as well. We touched on it last week about Nick Kyrgios. Now, I'm not saying Nick Kyrgios' only motivation is money, but you look at guys like Novak Djokovic, Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods was the first ever sports star to make $1 billion specifically from sport.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's money in golf. Michael Jordan, he's famously a billionaire, multiple billionaire. Those guys continued to play because they wanted their legacy. Joseph Suwali is a young man who has no legacy that is going for $5 million, which is like half of the Rugby Australia TV deal.
Yeah, that's right, John. And what these players have got to think about is they've got to think about post-career too. In Australia, there's a lot more money in rugby league than in rugby union at the moment for obvious reasons. There are going to be more post-playing employment opportunities in rugby league than there are going to be in rugby union because there's a lot less money in it, John. That's another thing these players need to consider as well.
So he may one day come back, but a lot of people who have watched Joseph Suwali throughout the year, there's a lot of talk about him. He, kind of big noted himself before he moved from the Rabbitohs to the Roosters and had all these demands and stuff, and his dad was his manager and all this kind of like Michael Jordan-esque type nonsense. And then, of course, he went to Rugby Union for $5 million. But yeah, unless he does spectacularly well in Rugby Union, he's not going to be able to come back to rugby league. And that's
I guess
the post-career that he's going to be looking for. Because you look at someone like Wendell Saylor, who went to rugby union, made a lot of money, got suspended, came back to rugby league, and what is he now? Rugby league commentator.
That's the thing. I guess, to be honest, though, from Suwali's point of view, I think he was overhyped as a league player.
100%.
And so, again, purely looking at it from his point of view and looking at his personal circumstances, he probably wouldn't have made that much money in league. So for someone like him to go over basically as a marketing tool, it's a bad marketing tool. It's probably not a bad idea from him because he's going to cash in big time. He'll be able to buy a property, pay off a property on the money that he's going to be on. Would he have been able to do the same if he stayed in league? Well, given what Sydney house prices are doing, John, I don't know.
But giving his performance for the year, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That comes down to we don't know whether his performance was good or bad because the Roosters did have based around the Suwali story, they had a lot of off-field dramas. And, there was early in the year he missed passes or didn't push passes that he should have, and, was labelled as selfish by the media, by the fans, and I was looking at some news articles because I knew we were going to talk about him, inside sources at the Roosters. So there was a lot of, when there's inside unnamed source at the thing, it's a little bit hard to...
Yeah.
But still, he can go make $5 million from Rugby Union and take the entire funding of the women's game. But yes, he can buy himself houses and invest. If he invests well, has a good money manager, he can probably set himself up for life. But then what's he going to do after his career's over?
Yeah.
Well, he can go play Japanese rugby.
True. But I guess you could say that about a lot of league players, though, couldn't you, John? I mean, not many of them make a living in the game after they finish playing. It's only a very lucky few who get to make a lifelong income out of rugby league.
I think like the NRL and the AFL are the two competitions that do this very well, in which I know they have programs to help the young people with like what they should be thinking about post rugby league, because no matter how good you think you are, no matter how... Even not all the superstars go out and have post-rugby league careers, you know. Like, you can look at someone like Matt Cooper or Justin Hodges, who just recently had their boxing match. They aren't commentators. They aren't media personalities. They aren't... not that I know of, they aren't, like, coaching. They're not in rugby league anymore. They were superstars during their time. I'll always remember... that Matt Cooper tackle against the Rabbitohs, where he literally picked up the player, preventing a try.
Yeah.
Massive arm strength.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they had to invest wisely and make their money work for them during their careers. So for the post career, now I touched on this a couple of weeks ago with the soccer shutting down and rebranding itself, which is what I honestly believe Australian rugby needs to do. As much as a lot of rugby union fans will not like this, I have some stuff here about the soccer, all right?
Okay.
So the National Soccer League was around from 1977 to 2004. They had the same kind of thing that we talked about before. They had confusing conferences, they had too many teams, they had poor management, and they had a lot of failures, okay? From 2001 to 2004 was when their absolute decline started to happen. They had around 29 teams at this stage. Something ridiculous like that, multiple conferences. TV networks were offering them cursory money for the rights to play the thing. It was $2.5 million a year is what I read. And it went to C7 Sport. I don't even know what C7 Sport...
The old C7 Sport. I remember it. They used to show Sheffield Shield cricket back in the day.
It was a paper... what's it called? A cable... I don't even know what it is.
Well, they were the one... Back in the day when you'd actually watch Sheffield Shield cricket, when you had, Mark Waugh, Steve Waugh, Shane Warne, Ricky Ponting playing Sheffield Shield cricket, and C7 Sport were the only ones who would show it on TV. So that was when you really wanted to have C7 Sport.
C7 Sport closed down, and the National Soccer League was going to be shown on no television. And SBS kind of saved them at the last minute. Now, from what I could find in my research, the actual money that they paid was not publicised, but there were suggestions it was nothing. They paid $0. Suggestions. I don't know if it's true or not, and I couldn't find any confirmed sources. So they knew they sucked, all right? They knew they were failing. No one was watching them. They had a possibly free TV deal.
At least they knew where they stood, right? Yeah.
So in 2004, they closed the doors, right? They cancelled the league. They went away, they sat down, and they looked for that 8 most successful teams in the competition and across Australia, and formed the A-League, which opened in 2005. So there was nothing in 2004, okay? So the A-League now sits as Australia's 3rd most watched sport on television, okay? So it went from being possibly $0 to be on television to the 3rd most watched sport after AFL and NRL. Right? It's the most played sport in Australia, especially at juniors, and 4th most attended sport in Australia. Now, granted, this comes with a star, an asterisk. Their crowd averages do sit at 5,000 to 6,000 per game.
That's the thing. There's a big gap between 2 and 3. Big gap between whoever's in front of them and
But it does go AFL, NRL, Big Bash League, then A League.
Yeah.
Big Bash League has recently taken their Big Bash League hasn't been around forever. They've taken the A League spot, and the difference between AFL and NRL is quite startling as well. It's like 60,000 down to 18,000 or something like that. So the drops is like 60,000, and Big Bash League isn't that much higher. That sits at around 6,348 or some. That's not the right number, but that's like something like that. And
big fall in the Big Bash League crowds. I think it's just because they have too many games.
Yeah, definitely. I want to get to this when Big Bash is on, because Big Bash used to be the greatest and best thing ever.
Yeah,
and now it's we've got to watch it.
We'll have plenty of time when it comes on to talk about that, John.
So, as I said, the National Soccer League was around from 1977 to 2004. And this speaks Australian rugby, because rugby is an international sport and so is soccer, and that's why they need to take lessons from each other. Socceroos made the World Cup in 1974. It's the first time they ever made the World Cup. And so that was one of the motivators for Australia to have a domestic competition, which was the National Soccer League. But they didn't make the World Cup again when they had that National Soccer League. Again, too many teams, too confusing, not enough attendees, not enough money from TV deal, couldn't get the funding.
And the A-League starts, and all of a sudden they make the World Cup every time it's on, John.
Exactly. 2004-05 A-League starts. 2006, Australia makes the World Cup for the first time since 1974, and since then have made every single World Cup. Not only have they made every single World Cup, they've qualified for the group of 16 twice.
And that's in a genuinely world game where literally every country plays.
Now,
where it's much harder to do well.
And it's now spread into, that same model spread into the women's game. Mm. So Australian rugby really needs to take a massive lesson from this. Now is actually the perfect time. World Cup just finished. There's not another World Cup for 4 years. They could literally shut down for 2024. Fix their game, their local game. And in a very short turnaround, 2025, reopen and be ready for the 2027 World Cup.
So when you ditch the Waratahs, ditch the Queensland Reds, have the 3 biggest club rugby teams in New South Wales, Sydney Uni, I don't know, Randwick, Gordon, who knows, whoever they are.
Yeah.
Do the same in Brisbane, ditch the Queensland Reds, 3 best club rugby teams. Keep your Western Force, keep your Melbourne Rebels, keep your Brumbies.
Yep.
There you go. Put them all together. There's your A-League, Super Rugby version of A-League.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I really think so. Yeah, like starting with 8 teams. I don't know how many teams are in Super Rugby right now, and I couldn't care less. I know.
But if you were to do that, you got about 8 to 10 teams, maybe. Yeah.
And then they could also, in doing that, drop out of pointless international competitions that are meaningless because they just lose anyway, because they haven't won anything in forever. And then work towards the World Cup. And then after the World Cup, when I assume they would then become successful again, if they did it well, they could then start looking at things like the Bledisloe Cup and stuff like that as secondary tier tournaments. So that's my thing. I fully reckon. Basically, Australian rugby should shut down the domestic competition, rebuild from the ground up. Like the NSL to the A-League, when they still have some of the same guys, or had some of the same guys, created new management, new systems, new hierarchy, new business structure, new competition structure, new funding structures. They got good people, good funding behind them, and look at them. Matilda's just beat Philippines 8-0. And it's the flow on that you see from 2004 when the National Soccer League went, SBS.
Well, you think about that, John. That's about 20 years ago now, 19 years ago. At that time, rugby was streets ahead of soccer.
Yeah, exactly.
And now that's been turned on its head, John.
So
soccer is the number 3 football code in Australia, and rugby union is a distant 4th, John.
Yeah, football codes.
Football codes.
Football codes.
Yeah.
And it's, you talk about the AFL, NRL, Big Bash League, A-League crowd attendances and the startling difference it makes, but it goes, AFL, NRL, and AFL fans will always have their justification for why they bought their Xbox, and NRL will always have their justification for why they bought their PlayStation. But those 2 sports sit atop the ladder, and then there's not daylight, but dusk to the A-League. And then there's 3 days of daylight, nighttime, like everything, down to Rugby Union.
Yeah.
You know, like Rugby Union is so far behind.
Yeah. Different planets, different solar systems,
it's so
different
far
galaxies.
So far. We're not even in the... It's not like same ballpark, same world, same galaxy, same solar system. Possibly not even the same universe anymore. So Rugby Union, they can go away, they can have their reviews, and there's big money in Rugby Union. There always is, because it's played at... Like they always say, Rugby Union is played by rich people and Rugby League is played by poor people all around the world except for New Zealand, where it's the other way around, right? You know... New
Zealand's the only country where rugby union's the national sport.
Yeah, because it's the rich man's game, right?
Yeah.
So they have Newington, Scots College, all those like Sydney schools, King's School and stuff, who have like the rugby union teams. They don't have rugby league teams, and they've got ex-prime ministers and millionaires and billionaires' sons. And I remember David Gallup, when he was the head of NRL, his son went to I think it was Newington. You know, like these aren't cheap schools; these are rich people's schools. And there's a lot of money there. I think, what's his name, Ziggy Forrester offered to start his own independent rugby union comp, and he was willing to fund it because he's a billionaire. A lot of money there.
Oh, Andrew Twiggy Forrester.
Yeah, that's his name, Twiggy Forrester, yeah. That was a few years ago, because he was so appalled by the state of Australian rugby. There's a lot of money there that they can go, and they can go to these people and go like, we admit that we're broken, and we know that rugby union has the potential to be like what it was 20 years ago. We need to shut down. We need your advice. We need your money, and then they can rebuild. Because as much as boring as rugby union can be for rugby league fans, it actually can also be super entertaining. It used to give me something to do in the off season before they televise trial games.
I think the issue with rugby union, John, is that as it is played in the Northern Hemisphere with all the penalty goals, it's just too boring. And then you go, oh, well, they should change the rules. But if they do that, it becomes like rugby league.
Rugby league.
So that's the thing,
The only rule change I would suggest in rugby union is actually solely the reduction in that point for penalty goals, and that's all. I would just make it 2 points. Keep the rock and maul. Keep those throw-ins.
And what about drop goals? The drop goals shouldn't be 3 points either.
No, you should never have a 3-point kick.
No.
It should all be 2.
Yeah.
Like it should.
Or even make penalty goals 2 and make drop goals 1 point.
Yeah, like It's just
there needs to be more incentive to score tries. 5 points for a try, 3 points for a goal. Where's the? You may as well just kick drop goals and penalty goals because it's too close. And 3 and 5's too close.
Actually, like if you go and play the old rugby league games on Wii, when you start playing that online, what you'll encounter it was so long ago. But when you start playing against people online, it was Wii or the one after PlayStation, whatever it was. People didn't bother trying to score tries, right? Because it was just easier to kick drop goals and you get the ball back and stuff. Your game is only like 10 minutes long or whatever because it's a video game. But I played online and it's like one of the matches I had was like 11-0.
Yeah.
And it was 11 drop goals the guy did to me. Like, this is dumb. I'm not playing this anymore.
Those rugby union video games are a lot more entertaining than the actual games of rugby.
There was the opposite, right? In rugby union video games, you just hammer out score tries and stuff. But in the rugby league video games, it was boring because everyone just kicked drop goals.
You'd be Australia and play against Namibia and win, 90-0 or something. It was entertaining, John.
It's fun. And that's what rugby union could be. That's my rugby union.
Yeah.
I'm just going to jump a sponsor up because we did talk about rugby union for a while. So, Back a Winner. Each week, Back a Winner's racing panel provides you with their best Australian horse racing tips and selections for the weekend's major racing meets. backawinner.com.au. Now, these tips are entirely free. So, bet with your head not over it. As always, gamble responsibly. Let's talk about rugby league.
Yes.
Something extra exciting. But it wasn't exciting because New Zealand versus Australian men's.
Yeah, I covered this one actually, John. That was what I was doing on Saturday night when the cricket was on.
I missed the first 10 minutes.
Yeah,
so I missed this kick-off that soured the...
Yes, the kick-off that went over the dead ball line, which nullified any momentum New Zealand got from that pre-game haka, John. And I noticed they got nice and close on the haka, walked right up to the Aussies. Didn't help them though, John. I think the thing that concerns me about this result, John, looking at it from an objective point of view, is that Payne Haas and Tino Fasuamalawi, they were rested for this game, John. Australia still won by 18 points.
Yeah.
That concerns me, looking ahead to the final next week.
The Kiwis went into the break down by only 6 points. Okay? But they never looked like they were going to win.
And they had more possession, John. New Zealand had 52% to 48% of possession.
That's 6 points. I know I always make fun of people who say, like, the score didn't show the game, the closeness of the game or whatever. The score did it. The New Zealand never looked like scoring any more than they did, like, at that point. And what it looked like was Australia was going to go into the halftime, have their break, come out and put 20 on New Zealand, which is basically what they did. And we've got to watch it again next week, which is my biggest frustration. Yeah,
so the Kangaroos, they've now won 7 of their last 8 tests against New Zealand, John. Again, that doesn't read well going into next week. James Tedesco, the skipper, he had a good game, John. But again, this is the
Justify his position.
This is the justification, John, but I've got to give him credit where it's due. Game high 190 metres at fullback. Well, winger Ronaldo Mulatalo, he led the way for the Kiwis with 139 metres. This Nelson Solomona on report in the 53rd minute for a dangerous tackle, John. Could be a bit of an issue there, perhaps. Dylan Edwards, your man, John, he's pushed his claims to be included in the team for the final. 14 runs for 121 metres, a try and 2 line breaks on the wing.
No, they should drop him because of that drop ball he had.
Oh, yeah, that was a bit iffy, that one. Tom Flegler and Nico Hines both made their test debuts in that game as well, John.
Yeah, I thought the game was super dour and highly boring.
Yeah.
And it made me not excited at all for next week. And look,
at least the final, which we will preview on Thursday, John, at least it will be played, I think it's in Waikato in New Zealand. So,
okay, cool.
Sorry, in Hamilton, yeah.
There's so little care about this that even bookmakers aren't even giving odds. Not all bookmakers are giving odds on the match.
Thank God we got the Cricket World Cup to keep us going for a while, John.
It was seriously, of course I rushed home to watch it. I could have been watching the cricket.
Yeah.
And I've talked about KO fix your television app, please, so I can change between easily.
It's good though, John. The Cricket World Cup takes us to the actual cricket season here, and then we go into the tennis. So thank you, Cricket World Cup, for providing us a nice holdover between the end of the NRL and AFL seasons and the start of the cricket and the tennis.
For less matches than what's in the NRL, we talk a lot more about cricket than we did about the NRL when the NRL was on. So thank you very much, cricket, for having such an exciting World Cup.
Yes.
In the other matches, PNG versus Fiji men's, it certainly was a lot of points.
Yeah.
I actually got that as a note. Well, it certainly was a lot of points.
Yeah, Fiji 43 beat PNG 16 in this game, John, again. This is in the bowl. And again, the same scenario which we talked about, John, these two teams to play. I think that decision, to have this scenario where both Australia and New Zealand and Fiji, PNG play each other in the round robin and then the final again, I think that's got a bit to do with the apathy around the whole tournament, to be honest, John.
But they could have made it more exciting. I like the fact that Fiji, unlike with the Kangaroos versus the Kiwis, because we know what's going to happen next week. With Kangaroos versus Kiwis. They're going to play again, and Australia's going to put I'll get to that, possibly their best team in and smash the Kiwis.
Of course they will, yeah.
As opposed to PNG should have beat Fiji, and they didn't. They got smashed. Smashed. I don't really think there was any need for that 39th minute field goal, Fiji.
No.
How offensive.
Yeah. But in Rugby Union, they would have got 3 points for it.
That's what you do when you want to rub it in, how much you're smashing the other team, though. Here, we're going to go for a field goal, bro, in the 39th minute just for the hell of it. But that opens up next week's PNG versus Fiji match. It makes it more interesting because PNG should win. They should win next week. And you can expect, again, a high-scoring affair. So
at least there's a bit more interest in that than in the Cup, John, with Australia and New Zealand. Yeah.
So Fiji ended up first in that Pacific Bowl. PNG obviously ended up second. Cook Islands didn't win. And it is in Port Moresby again, PNG home crowd. Apparently the PNG crowd were very vocal at the beginning, and it was dead silence for the rest of the match.
Yeah, Mike Acevo and Kurt Donahue both got doubles in this game, John. Acevo scored 7 tries in his last 5 tests for the Barty, John.
He's a monster.
Man of the match.
Yeah, he's a monster.
Yeah.
Over in the women's, I warned them. They should have listened. I warned them that they should be keeping post against it, and this was a danger game. Kiwi Ferns pipped the Jillaroos 12-6. Now, Tamika Upton, who is Tamika Upton, she played well, but Australia just couldn't convert, and it's clear that the Kiwis tinkered with their team for the last few weeks since last year's World Cup 50, whatever it was, smashing, and went, how can we specifically beat the Jillaroos? And they did it.
They did a job on them, John. Yeah, I covered this one as well. Well done to New Zealand. Great performance. Interesting to note in the women's side, I don't know if you caught the news, but there's no semis or final for the women. It's just a series of exhibition games.
Yeah, I didn't realise until it ended when I was looking at the draw for what's happening this week.
I don't know about that, John. I think you got to have semis and a final at the end of the tournament.
Especially because Jillaroos and Australia and New Zealand played each other twice in their tournament. And then you had...
I think New Zealand actually played 3 of the exhibition games, and Australia only played 2, John. So work that out. It's bizarre to me, John.
Man, like when we talk about what's it called? Rugby Australia needs to sit down and look at what they're doing. International Rugby League needs to sit down and look at what they're doing. Yeah, it is. So Kiwis, Australia played New Zealand first week, and then Samoa and Fiji played each other. And then New Zealand played Tonga, and PNG played the Cook Islands in week 2, and then Australia played New Zealand in week... Yeah, okay.
Very strange, John. Anyway, John, I'll just give the result in this. I don't think there's a lot of interest for our audience, but England beat Tonga in that second test, 14-4, John, at John Smith's Stadium. Some interesting stadium names over there in England. So they won that series, that 3-test series, John. England also won the first test 22-18, so England
both
won
close
that
matches.
But yeah, closer games, and Tonga competed well in that series. I think they're still playing the third one, obviously.
I hope that news... I don't know who runs the International Rugby League. Is there a thing that's International Rugby League?
Rugby League International Federation, I believe.
They need to sit down and work out what they're going to do over the next 2026.
I think the next World Cup, it's actually 2026, the next World Cup. It's been moved from 2025 to 2026.
Yeah, because France had to drop it, and there's a big
thing so something happened with that. It has been pushed back to 2026.
Yeah, so France... It was meant to be in France, I think, and then maybe France, and then I might be talking about out of my butt, and then they couldn't do it anymore, and now it's in Australia, and maybe in Queensland, and I don't know.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not sure where it's going to be held, but it has been pushed back to 2026.
Well, then they got 3 years to fix, 2 years to fix the
to sort it out,
sort it out and make it so we're all interested. I still want that, buy round in the middle of the season, and we'll see a bunch of internationals. So there's some rugby league news. So, there's Rugby League is doing the opening round in Vegas, and AFL's had a big... This is so funny. So the ad in Vegas, the billboard is there, and it's Australia's biggest sport is unleashed in Vegas. So it's done the rounds on social media, and AFL have commented yeah, whatever, bro. But the AFL players are all there's been so many responses on Twitter or Instagram and stuff like that with all the players having a wine.
It's very sensitive, aren't they, down south, John? Very sensitive. I mean, why do they, if they think they're the better game than Rugby League and they're the superior code, why do they care? Why does it... They're so protective of their code down there.
So funny. If they're so big and they're the biggest sport in Australia, why don't they go to America and do a opener? It's the funniest thing ever. I swear, this was news. This was AFL news, but I thought I'd check it. And it's both. Gives us a crossing, but it's so funny how much they care, and it's all the players. So many players having big whinges about who do they think they are. Look at our crowd numbers compared to theirs. Who cares, bro?
It's just overly sensitive, and Again, John. What? Why do they care? It's yeah.
And
what more do you say about that?
I got some inside information from an unnamed source that I just mentioned. Is like, you can't 100% trust it, but I'm getting a lot of these things now because of the podcast and because of SmartB. So, we've talked about the national anthem furor, Payne Haas and 3 other players, but Payne Haas is at the lead. What I heard is they're quite offended by the furor, and also the ARL is quite upset about it. And so Payne Haas may not, and his trio of his compatriots, they all qualify for Tier 2 nations as well. So they may not be playing this week. And even if they do play this week, they're going to voluntarily withdraw from Australia from now on and not play for State of Origin or Australia.
Okay, so Australia might have some players pull out of the final. That'll make the final a fair bit closer then, John, hopefully.
So I believe Payne Haas qualifies for Samoa. And I don't know the other guys, but this thing is led by Payne Haas.
It'd even out the International Rugby League, wouldn't it?
It'd be interesting to see next year with the tests. Apparently they won't play for New South Wales or whatever either. They're not going to play for the Origin. At least that tells me it's not about money. But it also tells me they don't have passion to play for Australia, and they should go play for a country that they're passionate about.
Yeah, it's hard to work out what the big issue is that they've got. I would have thought Australia is a pretty good country, John. I don't know why they got so much hostility towards their home country.
They don't like that the fans were upset with them for not singing the anthem.
Right, okay.
And they believe... Okay. Well, this is, again, like, all conjecture... rumours and innuendo, but I did get it from a pretty reliable source.
They earn a good living in this country, earn a good salary. They're highly paid, they're well looked after. A country with healthcare for everybody. Yeah, it's hard to work out what problem they have with this country, John. It's unfortunate, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's like they make the Australian match about this nonsense. But I'm very curious to see what happens when the teams are named. I think it's today or tomorrow. If these guys are actually in the team.
Yeah, if they were living in some other country, John, they wouldn't get these opportunities that they're getting here. So hard to work out what their big... there's a lot of people doing it a lot tougher than them in society. People who, have real jobs, work as teachers, firefighters who get paid a pittance compared to them, nurses, worked all the way through the pandemic to keep them and everybody else safe and healthy.
They worked through the pandemic.
Yeah. So it's a bit rich to me, John, when they're getting on their high horse about the anthem, given what this country provides to these players.
Matt Rogers, keep Matt Rogers relevant one quote at a time. When he talked about, it didn't matter if he sang the national anthem, he gave 100%, and we talked about it as well. That's the truth. If they're offended by people being offended by them not singing the national anthem, first of all, why did they make the protest? And they haven't come out and said why they make the protest. If you're going to make a protest, you have to have a message. And if they're upset that people are upset and not supporting them, that is actually one of the points of protest, to highlight whatever you're trying to say, inequalities or whatever they're trying to say. Again, don't know, because they just don't sing. There's always two sides to every argument. You have to accept other people's protest to your protest, and you don't have a tantrum and take your ball and go home. You present your argument, you present your what your protest is about, and you engage in discourse to change minds. I wish the ARL would draw a line in the sand. I wish they would just say, if you don't sing it, you're out, or if you do sing it, you don't have to sing it if you don't want to.
It's weak leadership on their part, John.
And Mal Meninga and his fence sitting and But it'll be, as I said, it'll be really interesting to see if Payne Haas plays this week and what happens next year in internationals and in Origin, because the Origin is the payday actually. So apparently they've just published new wages or whatever, or new wages have been leaked. Origin is the one that gets you the most money.
They'll get on their moral high horse about the anthem, John, and they might bail on playing for Australia or State of Origin. But they'll still live here, John, in their lavish houses on their big salary and enjoy all the benefits of living here. And they'll take that for granted and won't represent their state or their country. So
Israel Folau, Hypocrisy of Man. See, if I ever ran my website Hypocrisy of Man, this would be my next one. The pain heart.
Yeah, 100%, John.
Okay, so AFL this week.
Yeah, I did put something on the rundown there, John.
Cool, because I had nothing. Looks like nothing happened this week.
Yeah, so John, Trent Cotchin, the former Richmond player, has made some interesting comments about his former coach, Damien Hardwick, in his book.
These guys in their books, man.
Yeah, so Cotchin's admitted for the first time there was a rift between him and Damien Hardwick after the Richmond coach had a marriage breakdown. So it emerged Hardwick had split from his wife Danielle. It started a new relationship with former Richmond employee Alexandra Crowe. This came out in December 2020 that, Hardwick and his wife had split during that COVID year, John, that we all want to forget very quickly. Cotchin said, it was reported in the Herald Sun, John. Cotchin wrote, was it a distraction for the group? In my view, at times it was. Did it impact my relationship with Dimmer? I would say yes. At that point, 100%. Hardwick and his wife split after being together for 30 years, John. So Cotchin says the Hardwick scandal played a part in the club's bomb out in the 2021 season, had a flop that year, failed to qualify for the finals after winning the premiership 12 months earlier. He said, look, I still loved Dimmer and respected him as a coach, but I'm not sure my relationship with him ever got back to the level it had been before. Tell you what, he's a harsh marker, Cotchin, John. I mean, Hardwick coached that club to 3 premierships between 2017 and 2020, 17, 19 and 20. 3 premierships in 4 seasons, and he's bringing up some bad blood in 2021 after... I'll tell you what, I'd love it if my club won 3 premierships in 4 seasons, John. I wouldn't be harping on having one bad year in 2021 after winning 3 of the previous 4 premierships.
One of the things about these books is people got to understand they're all ghost written. None of these guys write their own books, man. And then there's a lot of drive around the publishers and trying to get the controversy and things like that.
Yeah.
I actually I hate Sports Stars books because of this. You notice last week we had Johnny Bairstow's got a book out that he's still complaining about getting stumped. Suck it. Every week there's a new book that comes out from a Sports Star that talks crap about something that happened 10 years ago. Yeah, it's always got the excerpt of that in the newspaper.
And I'm not buying it, John. You're a professional athlete. You can't be blaming a team's season on... Again, the coach, he can be in a relationship with whoever he wants to be. That's his business. It's his personal life. I don't think Trent Cotchin should be blaming Damien Hardwick's personal relationships on how Richmond go in a season, John. No, I'm not buying it. That's a load of rubbish to me. Absolute garbage to put that in a book. Rubbish.
Looking for any excuse. But again, just to sell books. It's just to sell books. Like a lot of those Sports Star biographies, autobiographies are just basically trumped up tabloid, long form tabloid magazines. There's so many of them. I've read a few. I like Andrew John's book. And I liked one of Wayne Bennett's books. Like, how many times does that guy need to write a book? Yeah. But yeah, there's always so much tabloid nonsense in them. I really strongly suggest people steer clear of them, to be honest. Yeah, it's just garbage. Of
course, John Hardwick, he's beginning a new chapter of his coaching career. That monster 6-year deal to coach the Gold Coast Suns. So good luck to Damien Hardwick at the Gold Coast Suns. Hopefully he has a lot more success than his predecessors there at the Gold Coast Suns, John.
Hopefully, because those guys, they need a leg up from the AFL. They need to get a whole bunch of free draft picks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because they've never made the finals. So hopefully he can get them to the finals. That's all that happened in AFL. More tabloid drama nonsense.
Yes.
And now we're on to combat. Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou was on the weekend. 2 big men going to war. Now, Tyson Fury won by split decision. Mm-hmm. every MMA pundit and every MMA fan that I know that doesn't watch boxing had Francis Ngannou winning. 100% of them.
Mm-hmm.
I've had this conversation. I've had the same conversation for the last 2 days over and over and over again. Tyson Fury won the boxing match. I love last night when I was at the gym. I was having had the conversation 3 times in a row as new people arrived because I was there early. And then the one other guy that I know that follows boxing walked in and said, "Did everyone watch Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou?" Prepared myself. Here I go again. And, mate, Hugo, he said, "Yeah, Tyson Fury won the boxing match." Yes! Finally some backup. Now, I actually... So one of the things that happened is Francis Ngannou actually knocked Tyson Fury down.
Oh, really?
It's always the danger with Francis Ngannou's big punching. And Francis Ngannou showed he can box. If I was Francis Ngannou, I'd stay in boxing. Seriously. The Saudis spent like probably $1 billion on this event, man. It was lavish. It was like, like I said, I heard a thing that they spent around $40 million just getting stars to attend with private jets and accommodation and paying for Eminem's appearance fee just to go to to watch it.
Did we get a song from Mr. Fury?
So I didn't watch the post fight.
Right.
And it was quite kind of annoying though because it started at 5 a.m. Didn't care about any of the other fights on the card. I woke up at like the 7:30 mark to watch it, and I had to take my kids to a birthday party. It was about 7:40. The pre-fight, the second last fight finished. Then they had the concerts and the introductions and the videos and oh my God, and 2.5 hours later the fight actually started. I had to watch it on replay because of this.
That's no good, John.
I couldn't believe it. Like, I had to go to a birthday party with my kids and I'm like,
yeah.
When is this going to start? Can I at least watch one round? But I went and I took my kids. I drove for half an hour. I dropped them off. I dropped the kids off at the birthday party. I went to the mall and stuff, and it was about half an hour later that the fight actually started. So then I stayed off social media till I could get home and watch the replay. As I said, Tyson Fury won the boxing match. I think Tyson Fury fully underestimated Francis Ngannou. Now, Tyson Fury's come out now and said like he was fully prepared, he had a proper camp and so on and so forth, but he booked another fight in December. He booked a proper heavyweight title match in December. So that really insinuated that was trash talk or he wasn't taking the fight seriously. He was meant to fight Alexander Usyk in December for heavyweight, and that's going to be a hard fight. He's now delayed that, which I think speaks volumes to how much he underestimated Francis Ngannou. He was meant to fight in 2 months, and now he's delayed it for an extra 2 months to prepare properly. Photos
Can't
have come
take
out.
your opponents lightly.
No, it's because in MMA you get points, not points like per punch or whatever, but for significant strikes, right? And a significant strike can be a kick, a knee, an elbow, your what they call the dickhead fracture fingers, your bottom 2 fingers sliding off the opponent's chin and connecting with that thing. Like in boxing, the strikes are awarded in clean shots. So because the gloves are so big. And that was what it was. Like, I found a lot of Francis's bombs that he was throwing weren't clean, but Tyson Fury's punches were clean. Boxing shots. So you have to understand boxing to understand that Tyson Fury, even though it was a split decision, Tyson Fury won the boxing match. If it had been MMA, Francis Ngannou would have killed him. And Tyson Fury had a big falling out with Joe Rogan because Joe Rogan did say on Joe Rogan podcast, if John Jones and Tyson Fury were to step into an octagon, John Jones would murder him because of MMA. And Tyson Fury said, no, I would bash him. And he tweeted at Joe Rogan all angrily and stuff like that. But I really think, because the other thing is you can't follow people to the ground in boxing. When Francis Ngannou knocked Tyson Fury down, he was basically out of it. And you get the standing 8 count. And if it was MMA, Ngannou would have just jumped on and just started punching him over and over and over in the head and knocked him unconscious.
Yeah, right.
So that was like the second or third round. The beauty of boxing scoring is if you have a knockdown that isn't responded to, so you don't get your own knockdown, it's an automatic 10-8 round. So that also kept the scores a lot closer than they could have been. So it was a good fight overall, though, man. I think they should rank Francis Ngannou in boxing and get him to fight Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua next. And it'll be, more even and awesome.
Do you like that Joe Rogan podcast, John? Or?
Only when he has interesting people on it, man.
It can be a bit... There's times where it can be a bit wishy-washy, can't it?
Yeah, like,
You
I
know?
like, they had the guy who lives in the Amazon rainforest, and they have him on there, and he talks about, like, the anacondas that he captures and tags and stuff like that. Like, the world record anacondas are like 26 feet or whatever, and he's seen like 35 feet ones, and talks about, like, fire ants are supposed to be the most painful sting you can have, but he's been stung by caterpillars that are way worse.
Is that right that he won't let... Sorry for sidetracking. He won't let Donald Trump on his podcast?
No, he's open to it now.
Oh, so he's going to have him.
No.
That's the one we all want to see, John.
Yeah, everybody wants to see it. It's not confirmed. Yeah. It's just that he spent years making fun of Donald Trump and calling him a goofball.
That's the thing. He talks about him all the time, and he attracts a lot of interest because of what he says about Donald Trump, but yet he went all that time without wanting him on the podcast.
Yeah, if you go back to the Candace Owens one, which is like really pretty famous because Candace Owens has such a ridiculous conversation with him about climate change. She says you should have Donald Trump on the podcast. But Joe Rogan spent so many years literally calling him a goofball.
Yeah.
You would think that Donald Trump wouldn't want to be on it because you know how, like...
thin-skinned he is.
Yeah, I was trying to look for a good way to say it without... calling him weak. But now he's open to it. He has mentioned many times open, and he met Donald Trump at a UFC match. So it would be awesome. So,
I was going to say, Donald Trump would probably tell him to go get stuffed, wouldn't he?
Well, then when they met each other, there's footage of them meeting each other, and they were very cordial and polite to each other. And Donald Trump says, I love your podcast and stuff like that to him. So it'd be cool. But a lot of the times it's just it's the same. If you listen to 3 or 4 in a row, Joe Rogan constantly talks about the same things, which is all well and good because the podcast is a conversational podcast, and he talks about Chimp Empire, the documentary on Netflix, to this guest, and then next week he has something on completely different, like World Champion Surfer, and talks about Chimp Empire, and then next week he has a Graham Hancock, the Ancient Apocalypse guy, talks about Chimp Empire, and if you listen to Joe Rogan religiously, you'll hear the same conversation 45 times. So I pick and choose what episodes I watch now, what I listen to in the car. Every time Graham Hancock's on, I listen to it because it's interesting. That guy's the guy who just disagrees with modern archaeology. And he'll present, and I watch his documentary series on Netflix, he'll present all of these amazing things that sound legitimate, like proof that all of the ancient civilizations existed and all this stuff, and then he'll go you don't know how they built the pyramids. They could have had some kind of telekinesis. And you just go, oh, God, dude. It's just whoa. So that is he had Francis Ngannou on there twice, and those are great listens.
Yeah, okay.
Francis Ngannou talking about how he went from Cameroon to France and wanted to get into boxing. Even his trip to France was amazing. Walking through the desert, getting caught, trying to illegally... get to France from Morocco and getting caught and then being driven back into the desert because they won't kill them. What they do is they drive them back into the desert for 4 hours of driving, then kick them out with no water and then drive off. So the guys that have to walk all the way back. Super interesting. Before we get into other sports, Premier Kitchens Australia are the leading experts in kitchen design, providing Sydney homeowners with bespoke, sophisticated and user-friendly kitchens. Go to premierkitchens.net.au when you want to get your kitchen redone. Great guys. We'll be seeing them next Tuesday, I believe. Yeah.
Cool.
Other sports news. You want to talk about the Matildas?
Yes, John.
So they're currently going through their Olympic qualifiers. They beat Iran 2-0. Apparently, I haven't watched any. Apparently quite convincingly. 2-0 in soccer. It was 2-0. And then they had to play the Philippines and they won 8-0.
Yeah, hat-tricks for Sam Kerr and Caitlin Ford in that game, John. I'll let you gather yourself there for a second.
We want more goals in soccer, but 8 is ridiculous.
Yeah, apparently I saw a story on Code Sports, John, that got paywalled, so I didn't get to see the whole thing,
welcome
unfortunately.
to Code Sports, yep.
Yeah, apparently Taylor Swift and Pink Concerts might be having some sort of scheduling clash with the Matildas and their upcoming Olympic qualifying games. So, as I said, John, didn't get to read the whole story. Thanks, Code Sports, for paywalling me.
I was forced by my wife to watch Drake. I I couldn't possibly tell you any Drake songs, and I couldn't there. But it's one of those concerts where you go to.
Sorry you had to go through that,
There's
John.
a few dudes in the audience that nod to each other like they know, yeah, we've been forced to be here. That was on the same day as a qualifier for the men's, whenever that was, years ago. And it was super frustrating because there was no internet inside. Right?
Yeah.
And so anyone who wanted to check the scores couldn't. But then Drake announced the scores. Like, so anyone who didn't want to know the scores got ruined by Drake. Spoiler alert, bro.
Yes.
So yeah, it is quite annoying if you're dragged along to a Taylor Swift concert by your wife. My daughter wants to go watch. I told her no because I don't want to pay like $1,000 for a ticket.
Yeah, especially with the mortgage interest rates the way they are, John.
She'd be at I don't know what they're called now. Kudos Bank Arena, Taylor Swift. And so they'd be at Olympic Park or something in a...
I think again, John, got paywalled out of it, but I think it might be to do with some other states, John, not New South Wales, Sydney concerts. They are, I think, in other states. But
so
anyway.
Australia is playing Chinese Taipei tomorrow at 10 p.m.
I think it might be to do with some upcoming ones, like in in a little while. I don't know. Again, we're at a point, John. Taylor Swift's that big that we're thinking about her concert dates when we're trying to think about Matilda's games.
I have also watched Pink though, and Pink's really good.
Right. Okay. There you go. So are we at a point, John, where we need to look up Taylor Swift and Pink concert dates to work out when Matilda's Olympic qualifiers are on?
I live down past Olympic Park, and it's super annoying if a Taylor Swift concert is on and I have to drive through that area at that time. But yeah, the last match of the Olympic qualifiers is Australia Chinese Taipei tomorrow at 10 p.m. But then they have some other, like they're playing Canada in December. Cool.
Yes.
Hopefully they can get that chance. So that's the Olympic qualifiers, and hopefully the women can do well in the Olympics.
Okay, I do bring you some more other news, John, if you
Amazing.
like.
I do love other news because I love sport.
So I will start with the bad one first, John. We don't want to finish on the bad note. So, John, in the League One French Soccer League, a game between Marseille and Lyon was postponed after this game was supposed to be played in Marseille at the Stade Velodrome. The game was postponed, John. Lyon's team bus, the away team bus, was stoned. Projectiles hurled at it by the Marseille supporters. Lyon coach Fabio Grosso and his assistant were injured during the attack, John. A crisis unit was set up to decide on when that game's going to be played now, because it had to be postponed in the wake of that incident. So prime video footage showed that Grosso had a bloody face after the attack, John, later with a bandage on his head as he came out of the stadium's medical room. A photo circulating on X, formerly Twitter. Thanks Elon Musk.
On Twitter.
Appeared to show Grosso lying on a stretcher, had a cut above his left eye, John, and apparently a club source said that the Italian Grosso has since been experiencing dizzy spells as well, John. So that's no good. That's no good,
Come
John.
on, man, it's just sport. You don't need to...
Yeah, it is just sport. Another interesting one for you, John. The women's race, a 20-kilometre walk race, in the I think it was the Pan American Games in Santiago. The results have been annulled after the course. Astonishingly, John, it was found to be around 3 kilometres shorter than it was supposed to be. If you can believe that.
You have one job.
Yeah. So that and it's a pity, John, because that race was supposed to give these athletes an opportunity to qualify for next year's Olympic Games.
Oh, that's terrible.
So suspicion was raised, John, when the top 12 competitors in the race all finished well below the world record mark. Yeah, bit of a few alarm bells there, John.
Maybe they were on PEDs.
Yeah, so astonishing stuff, John.
That's bizarre.
So all the medal winners were the medals all stood, but the athletes have now been denied an opportunity to qualify for the Olympics. So that's a real pity, John. 3K short of the required 20-metre course.
That's quite a lot.
If you can believe that, John.
That's quite a lot. Like, yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really bad for that because qualifying the Olympics is really hard. It's not an easy thing to do, and you have limited opportunities to do it as well.
Yeah, so the winner of the race finished more than 11 minutes quicker than the previous world record.
Well, walk racing is a bit lame. If you like it and you do it, well done to you, but it's hard to watch. But 3 kilometres shorter is ridiculous. And it's so hard to qualify for the Olympics. It's in these sports, these type of sports, track and field especially, they have track and field world championships. They have all these competitions. There's no money in it, The money is in winning the Olympics. And to win the Olympics, you have to qualify for the Olympics. And if organisers screw up your qualification chances, those people play or compete and do everything for the 4-year Olympic thing and nothing else. All of these World Championship qualifications and stuff like that are solely based around qualifying for the Olympics. And to be screwed over for that is quite disappointing. You would hope the Olympic Committee does something for them. Because, that can really... It can ruin people's lives.
Yeah.
They talk about the Olympic... actually, Jordan Burroughs talked about on Joe Rogan podcast when medals were stripped years later after Russia had been done for doping. It was irrelevant because the guys that were bumped from silver to gold had lost out on literally millions of dollars in endorsements, sponsorship, stuff like that. And they were never going to be able to get it back, ever. And, they had gone from being Olympic wrestlers who came silver to being, having regular jobs and stuff like that. Because there is no money in most Olympic sports unless you win. And qualification is so difficult. So them doing that is like...
No good when the course is 3K shorter than it's supposed to be, John.
That's so terrible.
Another one for you, John. So, Canterbury Leagues Club, of all places, John, have decided to turn unused bowling greens into pickleball courts.
Pickleball's fastest growing sport in the world.
Yeah, sweeping the United States, John.
A lot of complaints about it, though.
In 2022, it had 8.9 million players, marking a 159% surge over 3 years, John. That's some big growth, I should say. So it combines elements of tennis, table tennis and badminton for people not familiar with it. Played on a court similar in size to the badminton court, using a paddle and a small plastic ball, I understand.
Yeah.
Not having seen any of it, John. You talk about it annoys people. I think it's the noise of it, John.
Yeah, so the ball is like hollow and holy and plastic and makes a really distinct noise. And it's quite loud.
Yeah, it's like a pop sound, apparently.
Quite loud. And so it annoys people when pickleball courts are chucked up around their neighbourhoods and stuff because all they hear is the dunk, 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 dunk. And I know there's like the noise in tennis and stuff like that, but it's nowhere near.
But in tennis, it's not an annoying. It's actually quite a nice noise. The tennis ball hitting the tennis
noise
racket
is annoying, and I can imagine people getting annoyed by it, like actually complaining about it.
Yeah.
That's this. And who was it? Maria Sharapova came out of retirement to play that we touched on. It's fast growing sport in the world. Yeah. There's a low barrier for entry for fun, like just to enter and do it. It's good exercise. There's not as much running in it as there is in tennis, squash, and even I believe badminton. So it's not as harsh on your knees and ankles. Yep. I might give it a try one day, but my knees and ankles are terrible from squash. Like, terrible. Yeah,
I think I play too much tennis, John. I'm on the court every day, so that's probably enough racket ball sports for me.
You know those barefoot bowls that people do for their birthdays and stuff like that? I wouldn't be surprised if things like Canterbury League chuck up, birthday bashes for pickleball. It's not a bad idea. Play some pickleball, go and have some beers. Yeah, I'd do that. That's when I would play it, something like that.
One last one for you, John. A nice light one to finish on our favourite subject, actually. the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift relationship.
It's the Tay-Tay check-in.
So, John, the statistics are showing that Travis Kelce's performance is better when Taylor Swift is in attendance at the game. So, during the Kansas City Chiefs Los Angeles Chargers game, John, CBS Sports, who are televising the game, put a stat on the screen showing Travis Kelce's performance when Taylor Swift's in the crowd compared when she's not. So, according to those stats, John, Travis Kelce has average receiving yards of 99 with Taylor Swift in attendance. However, John, it's not the same when she's not in the stands. When Travis Kelce's left alone without his girlfriend Taylor Swift there, John, his average yards dropped down to 46.5.
Wow. So the other opposing
it's a big difference, John.
Opposing teams' fans have started to mock her in the crowd, but she should really buy into that and attend more games.
Yes.
So this is you got to check out these videos of women pranking their boyfriends about Travis Kelce and saying I don't know who he is. I don't know who he is, and the boyfriend's just going crazy. He's like, because Taylor Swift made him famous, right? They know who he is, but they're just messing with him because the guy. He's like a superstar, actually. 2-time Super Bowl champion, 4-time first team, 3-time second team, 8 times Pro Bowl, NFL 2010's All-Decade team, and first team All-Big East. He's got records with seasons with 1,000 receiving yards by a light end, most consecutive 1,000-yard receiving seasons by a tight end. Sorry, tight end, not right end. Receiving yards in a season by a tight end of 1,416, seasons with 100 receptions by a tight end, and games with 100-plus yards received by a tight end records. So he's an amazing player, and the fact that Taylor Swift makes him better is really good for I imagine now Chiefs fans aren't complaining about having Taylor Swift at games.
She could be the secret to them winning the Super Bowl, John.
That'll be so funny. That's a Taylor Swift watch. We'll bring her up as much as possible just so we can get the social media clout.
Yeah.
So our social media updates brought to you by Parker's Cellar. Parker's Cellar allows fellow wine lovers to access unrivaled pricing on your favourite wines with the added convenience of bottles with free delivery direct to your door. parkercellar.com.au. You must be over 18 to buy wine, obviously. So, wait, I just got some SmartB news, of course, which I have to bring up every week. Don't forget our cricket competition. Sign up to SmartBet at smartb.com.au. Select, even if you've already signed up, select cricket as one of your preferred sports, and you can win an $800 Jacobs Creek cricket pack, which includes a Kookaburra Shadow 2 bat.
Yep. You can win it, but not us, John.
Yeah, not us. Everybody in the Yash wants to win. It's not fair. He's like, let me win. I'll take the bat. You take the wine. Don't forget this with SmartB sponsoring Subversion Jiu-Jitsu. We are about to launch a competition. Sign up to smartb.com.au and select Subversion as your... I can't remember what the question is. How did you hear about us? From Subversion, and you can win 2 tickets to the first Subversion event in 2024. Subversion Ascension is on December the 2nd. It is the premier Jiu-Jitsu event in Australia. On to our social media update. Mm-hmm. Don't worry, guys. The Vegas
your
competition
favourite
is
part of the
soon.
show, John.
Yes, I love it. I love it when people interact with me on social media. So we've got a lot of comments on Facebook this week about that bloody Latrell Mitchell video. So David Kremen on that Latrell Mitchell post, he said, Latrell does what he wants to do now. It's all about him.
Can't disagree with that, John.
100% agree. We responded and we said we'll discuss this comment on the podcast this week. Got a lot of Latrell things, so we'll discuss Latrell.
Yeah, well said, David.
He actually responded to that this morning and said, they are professional rugby league players who are paid very well. The media have a bit to do with it as well. They do put them on a pedestal at times. Well, Latrell gets hammered by the media, but also put on a pedestal. So he's like the yin and yang of the media, actually. One day you'll have the abuse of Latrell Mitchell. One day you'll have the complimentary Latrell. We do it too. This video is us complimenting him.
This is the thing, Joe. That's the sort of comment from David there, that there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, there's a lot of toilet comments on social media that we talk about, John. Nothing wrong with that comment, though. He's on the money, John.
So we want people to engage on our social media and have conversations about things like Latrell
and
Mitchell.
do it respectfully and in the right way, like David has done there, John.
Mike O'Callaghan on the same post. This could be Latrell's defining season. If he comes back fit and ready to go, he can become what everyone knows he can be. If he comes back overweight and starts the season behind the 8 ball, then it'll be a slog that he may not recover from. Now, he also said, I wish him well. Sorry, Mike.
No, teams with Latrell Mitchell in it shouldn't be missing the finals, John. So we need to see an improvement from him next year.
We get the same comments, actually, same news every year about Latrell Mitchell because when he first started and he was at the Roosters, he did come back overweight after the off-season. And so I don't think I can't think of a year that we didn't have this same kind of comments on social media and stuff like that in the media. This is Latrell's defining season. He needs to come back and try the ground running and not be overweight and stuff like that. Now, he didn't play for Australia. He should be back early. Didn't have rep games. He does get the extra weeks off because he has done more than 4 off seasons or whatever it is. You would have to say that this actually, because he didn't get picked for Australia, legitimately this is his defining season. I think given his off-field dramas all year, also his off-field what's the opposite of drama? Off-field happy times all year. I don't know. Yeah. How the Rabbitohs ended up, the fact that they've extended their coach. Latrell was injured, didn't play Origin, didn't play any rep football all year. If he comes back fat or overweight, not fat, I'm fat, comes back overweight and not fit and ready and firing, it will be really surely it's got to be his last chance.
Yeah,
chance to be a superstar.
We had a lot of drama this year, a lot going on. We just need him to knuckle down next year and play the footy we all know he's capable of. And South Sydney, I think, are owed that from him next year.
Again on Latrell, Kevin Albany, I love this comment too. People's feelings are so sensitive. L. Mitchell has his own life. Fans don't own him. People have become dobbers like little children. Very true. The guy that rang up the radio station to whine about Latrell telling him to go away when in actual fact that's not what happened.
That's another extreme, isn't it, John? So the guy ringing up, I mean, that was just, you couldn't work that out, John. That's get a life territory.
Exactly. So yes, fans don't own Latrell, but Latrell does owe things to his club and his fans because they're what gives him his job. And that's why he's paid the big bucks, John. Yeah, exactly.
If you get paid a big salary, that comes with certain, there's certain responsibilities that come with that. And one is that, you're a public figure. Yeah.
We always say, you don't have to be a knob to the public figures. But the public figures do actually owe us that. And Latrell does give back to his fans.
He does. He does give back. He does a lot of good in the community, which we've highlighted, John. I think we've been fair the way we've covered it.
100%.
We've given credit where it's due, and we've given criticism where it's due.
Unlike some media things, but all he's got to do is play well, and then all of the off-field stuff will go away. Now,
yeah. I was just going to say, they just got to accept, these players, that there are going to be idiots on social media who, not that any of our, I don't think, not that there's anything wrong with the comments we've read out, John, let me make that clear, but, there are idiots out there who are going to write stupid things on social media as well, John. Unfortunately, it comes with the territory these days. It is 2023.
It is.
Everybody has social media, and that includes the idiots of society.
Yep.
Yes.
And social media is the toilet of the internet.
Yes.
Again on Latrell, so Poddy Alan Thompson just put some emojis, which was the yawn emoji, ZZZ, and then the poop emoji. Now, I don't know if this guy is saying that he shit his bed.
Right. I can't work those out.
I don't speak emoji. I haven't watched the emoji movie, so try and be clear with your comments. We're happy to engage in conversation.
Doesn't seem like the most constructive post to me, John.
Then another guy so I just bring this up because Pina Parika, again, guys, your name is on Facebook. So
we know who you are. We can see it clearly.
And your profile picture. So he swore, had nothing constructive. I'm not going to read out his comment because I don't want to put a language warning. So all silly. We do when this happens, if you're going to be a silly person and just swear, comments are going to get hidden. We don't delete, we just hide from everyone else. So your friends can see them and engage with you, but no one else can.
So it's a complete waste of time doing
exactly.
that. Yeah.
And it gets done pretty quickly by our social media managers. So John Parment on our cricket competition post commented scam. Now, the reason I bring this up is because this is actually very common. There are competition scams on Facebook. Facebook does try to shut them down and fails miserably. It's not a scam. You can actually win. I'm happy to put up a live video of us showing the stuff, which I might do later with producer John when we have time. He's smiling at me, just to show people the stuff does exist. The photos are not downloaded off the internet. They're sitting over there off camera right now.
Trust us. It's not a scam, everybody.
And then we move over to YouTube. Now, Chris, who commented on YouTube and then promptly deleted their comment. Guys, every comment gets saved.
Yeah. So once it's out there, it's out there.
When I was actually a comment from last week's podcast about when we discussed Michael Pryor standing down from the West Coast Eagles AFL team. Now, we talked about it last week. What we said was Code Sports reported this, and it's in the video as well. Code Sports reported this, that he was standing down because of comments made that criticised AFL. And then I did mention the conspiracy theory on social media was that the AFL was forcing them to stand down. And we discussed if the AFL is overreaching like that, it's ridiculous.
Which is true to form for them.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's like the reason we brought it up is because it doesn't sound not it sounds believable.
It's very believable.
It's the kind of thing that AFL has done.
Yes.
Yeah. So Chris said that's not why he's standing down. Did you research him before you made this statement? Again, we didn't make the statement. Code Sports reported it, and we just reported what Code Sports said. I went and tried to do some research after Chris commented it and found no other alternate thing. So, Chris, if you have information, say it on the comments. Our social media managers will respond. We'll bring it up in the podcast. You just saying that's not why he's standing down. Did you research him before you made the statement? And deleting your comment. That's nothing.
Yeah, he's not provided any source for that information.
Yep.
He's just said it and then deleted. I mean, maybe, to be fair to him, John, maybe he realised he was out of step with what he said and so he deleted it.
Maybe watch the video again, because the video opened with, this is reported in Code Sports, not by us.
Yeah, well, maybe, to be fair, John, maybe he's realised that he's made an error there and he's deleted his comment.
But I'd love to hear. Actually, I'm going to post this. We're going to post this clip on YouTube about Chris' comment because I'd love to hear. Might tag the person if I can. Before we wrap up, we got a few minor sponsors. That's the end of social media, by the way. Keep commenting. We love to address the comments. Engage in discourse. Chat on our social media. It's heaps fun. We follow SmartB at SmartB app on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, X. We're on everything.
All over social media.
Just our minor sponsors. DigiGround is an app and web development agency. Go to digiground.com.au for more information. Puppy Lovers is a dating app for people who own or love dogs. Check out puppylovers.com. And Auction is an event management platform creating fundraising events. Check out auction.com.au. Now, Puppy Lovers is spelled Puppi lovers. Auction is spelled Oktion. DigiGround is DIGI ground. So that's it for the... What day is it?
Tuesday.
Monday wrap on Tuesday.
Yes.
We're delaying the World Cup. And we will be back on Thursday as normal with a pre-review and preview for the weekend. Have a good one, Dan.
Thanks, John. See you, mate.
Bye, producer John.
Bye.